Let's freaking go. Football card collecting and investing. All a part of the nooffseason.com network. Your boy Carter here on a solo episode as Andy, in the middle of a move, takes a quick vacation with the family. And I want to talk about robberies. There was probably the biggest robbery we have ever seen in sports cards at a sports card show that went down this past weekend in Dallas. So I don't know if this is going to be an audio only show, but I will show you the video of everything that went down. And I'm going to give you some experience tips on to help you prevent this happening to you. Now, this is not an apples to apples comparison here because this guy has very rare Mickey Mantle, Roberto Clemente kind of cards. Obviously, we're more of a football card network, but these baseball cards are absolutely ridiculous. I mean, we're looking at close to over $1 million in cards just in the photos you're seeing, but it was close to 2 million in cards, and obviously that is a crap ton of money. Now, the second thing I would point out is as far as the people that own these cards or work for the company that own these cards, I see so much victim blaming here. I am not so sure if we should be blaming the victims too much. Okay, so what I'll do is I will show how it all went down. I'm not going to give you a full play-by-play breakdown, but I have watched this 10 times over. Um, and the reason why I say I've watched this 10 times over is because it takes that many times to really pick up on everything that's happening. So if you are watching on video, the men in three tan hats, kind of in the middle of your screen, and there's one at the top of your screen, are distracting three young men that are overseeing this collection. And it's actually the guy in the top left corner of the video that's walking away with millions upon millions upon millions of dollars of cards, and it's in a case, right? It's in like a little carrying case. He didn't like just steal it off the table. It's while everything was being broken down. So this was actually a really elaborate theft, and that's my major point here. Is sometimes you just have bad luck, right? You just do. Now, I'm going to show you a photo of the guy that actually stole the cards, and you see it's just him carrying a case in his right hand as he's walking out. So it looks just like any other person who would be at the show, right? So there's never really a 100% foolproof way of protecting your cards, which is why if you have a collection that is truly that big, you need to have it insured. That would be the first thing I would say. But I doubt anybody watching this would have your collection this insured. A few months ago, while Andy was out as well, I had a guest on. His name was Parker, and he deals with a lot of high end cards. And when he ships, he has year round insurance on his shipping. And if you're shipping a lot of $5,000-$10,000 cards, that protects you in many ways. So if you want to learn how to do that, go back and watch that episode. And it's something along the lines of how do you ship high-end cards or how do you sell high-end cards? Because on the Card Quest, we mostly deal with like middle tier cards that sometimes get into the thousands. So that's one way. If you're going to travel, especially with the National coming up, with that much cards, that much money, poured into your cards, you need to have it insured. Yeah, you just do. You're doing yourself a disservice. The second thing I would say, if you are traveling to the National, it's if you're going to have that much money poured into your cards, do not take a solo mission to the National. That is so unfreaking believably irresponsible. And this goes towards any card show. This weekend or a few weekends ago, I'm a vendor at the Shreveport Card Show, and I brought my whole collection, and I was by myself, and that was probably the most nerve-wracking experience of my life. I did not feel comfortable at all, even though it was a very family-friendly show. I was set up, next to a friend who was able to look over my stuff when I walked away. But I brought 90-ish% of my collection to a show when I was by myself, and normally I have someone with me. So I heavily regret that, even though I didn't have anything stolen per se. So I um I highly recommend, if you're going to set up at a show, make sure it's a two-person operation. And if you are a one-person operation, do not get up and walk around. There's only you can't trust everybody in this world, and I think that's also a pretty good lesson here, because I'm not going to break down the whole video you just saw, or and I think most of you have seen it already, but it took 4 thieves, 3 of which to distract the 3 people that were overseeing the collection, and 1 guy to take it. So, it's wild, and I know what a lot of people are gonna say, "Well, it's stupid to steal cards like this. The PSA cert numbers are on the cards. It's easy to track down, especially something as high profile as this." But thieves are not the smartest people. They would not be thieves otherwise, and you don't want this to happen unless you're trying to pull off, insurance fraud or something more nefarious like that. So I would heavily, heavily, heavily. Recommend that even if you do have that many people, always be on your P's and Q's, especially if it is your most expensive stuff. So, just like the video you saw, I actually do have a separate container from my other card storages that have my best cards in them. Like my absolute highest end best cards are stay in this case, and I'll show it to you really quickly. Um, it's just this, okay? And I guarantee you, one of those mantles is way more than my whole collection combined. Huh? 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 But at the show, I always, if I am setting up or if I am going to a show, I always securely make sure that my best cards are on me at all times when I'm at a show, not just sitting on the floor somewhere. Um, so that would be the only thing that I would say about the people that were robbed. You you should, if it is your absolute most expensive best cards, they should always be in your sight, and or always be in your hands. Um, but then again, this guy had so many cards. But if they're all able to fit in that case, you should be able to take them. Now, the reason why I wanted to do the solo show today, where we weren't even, and you see, I actually had the wrong signage up here. It's my Power Hour NFL stuff. Uh, but I do want to bring up just robberies in general. So in my other jobs, obviously I'm a YouTuber, but I DJ a lot of weddings, and I do a lot of one person DJ expeditions, right? And it is nerve wracking when you have to travel. I have to travel, more often than not, at least an hour to go to a destination, but sometimes 4 or 5 hours to go to a destination. And you got to pack up all this very expensive DJ equipment. And when I have to stay at a hotel, it's very important that, and these types of robberies I have no sympathy for. Absolute zero, zip, zilch, nada. Well, I have some sympathy because robbers shouldn't exist, but uh, but I have very little sympathy for car robberies. All right. Because I know a lot of you are going to be getting rental cars to go to, whether it's Dallas Card Show or the National or wherever. You get a rental car when you fly in. And when you fly in, you got all this luggage, you got all your collection with you and all that stuff. Never, ever, ever leave anything valuable in a car. Never ever. And it could just be that I'm from Louisiana and beating windows in is very common um, in some areas of Louisiana. But do not leave anything valuable in cars. Don't do it. Even if you think you are parked in the absolute most secure spot on the planet. And I'm actually went against this own advice recently, but what I could tell you is I parked in the absolute most secure location you possibly could park, directly in front of a security camera at a very, very secured location where there are security guards walking around. But even then, I felt very uncomfortable doing that. Um, and I left a good bit of my collection in there, and it was fine. But do not leave your collection in your car ever. Do don't do it. Even if you think you're going in for like half a second, it could be robbed that quickly. And I say this because when I'm a solo DJ and I drive a long distance to do an event, the hotel or wherever I'm staying, I bring every last piece of heavy DJ equipment in. I bring in speakers, bringing in lights, bringing in cables, every last little thing. And I have tinted windows. I still bring those things in. If I could do it with DJ equipment, you could do it with cards as well. And I understand it's more than just cards. Some of you set up, you have like cases and stuff like that. Bring it in your room. Bring it in your room. So, I always recommend that. And then the second thing, one, and obviously that's a different type of robbery that happened here, but when you are breaking down or when you are, going somewhere else, make sure you do have as many eyes a part of your operation as possible. I remember going to the National last year, and this was a guy I actually met at Dallas Card Show. He is a very, very, very high end um, current quarterback collector. So we're not even talking about like Vinny Testaverde cards or anything like that, or Peyton Manning cards. We're talking about the absolute most liquid cards in the hobby. I mean, uh, CJ Stroud rookies, Trevor Lawrence rookies, Joe Burrow rookies, Justin Herbert. The cards that really do move. And he had downtowns, really rare refractors and all of that. And he was a one-man operation. And I would guess there was minimum $100,000 in his case at the National. I would have never done that. Never, ever, ever have done that. But it's bold. It's a bold thing to do. So let me know what you guys think. What other um, tips do you have for the nooffseason.com football card nation? Please comment down below ways you can prevent thefts from happening. Um, keeping track of your cards in an Excel sheet, having all kinds of photos of your cards. One thing that would drastically help out your situation is having photos of all your cards and the cert numbers of all those cards. Also, having numbered cards always help out in ways, especially if it's a raw card. Uh, Let me know what you guys think about this whole ordeal. And then you get into the ethics of even having a collection worth that much. I mean, it truly is dangerous for everyone involved to be walking around with I mean, one of those mantles is a life changing amount of money. One of them, like, that is double my yearly salary. 2 years worth. I mean, if I knew I could, and look, I'm not a thief, but you talk to a random person that has a shaky background, they might risk it. One card is a life changing card. Um, but You know, it's a crazy thing. So let me know what you guys think down below, and I hope you enjoyed this. We'll be back next week. Talk to you soon. Let's go, Card Nation. Let's go football.